winning in life. And I can't believe it that Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are actually talking about having a cage match. And like when I first heard it, I'm like, no, that's impossible. And I bet if you, when you first heard it, that this was going to happen, if your immediate response was that this is a, it's a scam, it's a joke, it's social media, it is what social media does, right? They pull pranks and jokes and say things that aren't true just to get attention and all that. So I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Now, so first question, so here's the big question of the day, and it's a critical question. So what we're going to talk about today is why they're fighting. Why are they even talking about? Why in the world are two of the richest men in the world, two of the most successful men in the world, why are they talking about this? Why are they actually talking about having a real cage match fight? And we're going to talk about why this would actually be a real conversation and why two billionaires would actually get into a ring or a cage or whatever and fight. Why would they do that? So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to ask some questions about that. But so here's the first question of the morning for those of you that are on. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. So first question: do you believe this fight will actually happen? Because I don't know if it'll actually happen or not. Because I mean, I just don't know. There's so many Elon saying he's got to have his MRI done on his back and neck and all this kind of stuff. And when you talk to a professional fighter, anybody that's ever been in professional fighting, whether it's UFC or boxing or whatever, before you're going to do a fight, you're going to get checked out. They're going to check you out because the last thing we want is somebody to have a heart attack and die in a cage match, right? So you got to make sure that you're physically healthy enough to actually sustain the rigors of actual combat, hand-to-hand combat, right? So here's my first question. Do you think they're actually going to fight? So if you think they're actually going to fight, just in the comments type fight. Whether you're watching this live or watching this as a replay, type in the comment fight or no fight. Is there actually going to be a fight or is there going to be no fight? Now I'm talking about, are they actually going to get physically into a ring and go at it for however many rounds that they decide to go at it? Do you believe they will actually do this? Because I don't know, but I do believe they're serious about it. Okay, so fight or no fight. Okay, now I'm getting so far. It's unanimous. No, they're not going to actually do this. They're not going to actually fight. Okay, so it may beg the question, but are they serious about doing this, or is this just a big publicity stunt? Now I'm going to tell you what I believe, and I'm going to also tell you why they're doing it. Why? Because I know exactly why they're going to do this. Now I want to do a little bit of just kind of disclaimer. So I've got, so far it's all no fight. But so far, it's all, if I remember correctly, let me look here. Let's see. So Michael says no fight. Okay, so it's men and women saying no fight. It'll be curious to see if it's going to be fight or no fight. I'm going to also say that this conversation is primarily going to be directed toward men. And because I think this is a guy thing. I can't imagine two successful business women ever actually contemplating getting into a cage fight. This is not, I don't see it happening ever. I just can't imagine whether it's celebrities or, singers or, business moguls in the females. I don't see it. I see this as a guy thing. So a lot of this conversation can be for guys, but a big piece of this conversation is going to be, even though it's about men, it is very applicable for mothers. So if you have kids or grandkids or whatever, are going to have kids, I think this is a critical conversation because there is a reason that they are doing this. And I think there are multiple reasons they're doing this. And what I'm hearing from you guys in the comments is none of you believe. So far, does anybody believe this could actually be a real fight? Does anybody actually believe they're going to actually fight? Anybody, just anybody. I want to see, is there any outlier that says they're actually going to do this? If I were betting odds, I would also bet they're not going to fight. Okay. I would say the odds are against it, but I would say it's like 60-40, a 60% chance they won't fight, 40% chance they'll actually fight. I think they're serious about it. I think it's a serious conversation. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's a serious conversation and why it's relevant to you. Okay. Because here is the deal. High performers, high achievers think different than non-achievers. They just do. They just think dramatically different. And so for non-achievers, they look at this as and I'm not saying for whatever you guys are believing, I'm not classifying you in this at all, but I'm just that in general, to people that say this makes no sense at all, it makes no sense in the world why they would do this. I think you deeply misunderstand the human nature and especially the nature of guys, of men. And we're in a society where this idea of even guys fighting is like become taboo to a lot of people. It's like, I can't believe people are going to actually get into a ring and hurt each other. And we do that for sport, for money, and people are going to get entertained by that. And I mean, think about back in the days of the Roman Colosseum and the gladiators, they fought to the death. This was not like sport where they came in, hugged each other, fought for, or came in, tapped gloves and then fought for 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 5 rounds, 10 rounds, or whatever. And then after it was over, hugged and, all trash talk at the beginning and at the end, presumably respect. So I think it's critically important. Now, I just want to throw in here for those of you that are wanting to achieve at a higher level, this conversation is very important. I think this is a men conversation, but I think it's also a women conversation. It's just, there's a different dynamic to it. And so I've got Millions Live coming up. So if you have not got your ticket yet for Millions Live, go to millionslive.com and get millionslive.com and get your ticket. And the reason is because we're going to be bringing in high achievers, men and women who are super, super high achievers and that are dominant in their field. I'll talk more about that in a minute, not about the event, but just talk about the type of people and why they are achieving at such a high level. So, okay, so if anybody else news joined us, I'm going to let last chance for you guys to answer. Do you think they're actually going to fight? Yes or no? Okay, now, second question. Why do you believe that Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg would actually fight, would actually talk about a fight? Why is all this happening? So type in the comments, whether you're watching this live or as a replay, type in the comments why you think this is happening. Why are they doing this? Why would they do it? I'm going to share with you 3 reasons today that this is happening, that Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are actually talking about fighting. And there's 3 reasons for it. And they're all important reasons. Okay. So I just in the comments, type it. If you believe, and I've already seen one or 2 comments that says it's a publicity stunt. Okay. So this would be one reason for it. And there's no doubt about it. Definitely. One of the reasons that they are going to fight is attention. Okay. Attention. So this is one of the reasons they're going to fight. They're going to fight for they're not, whether they fight or don't fight, just talking about it. They're doing it for the attention. No question about it. Because this is what has been described as an attention economy. I think Gary Vaynerchuk calls this, I don't know if he's the one that coined the phrase, but he talks about this being an attention economy, that your greatest currency is you got to get attention. So for those of you real estate agents, entrepreneurs, your business depends not just on how good you are at executing on the service or product that you provide, but it's also on your ability to get attention so that you can win clients, right? That you can win clients and customers. You have to get their attention first. In all conversations of marketing and sales, the first step to all that is attention. So they used to teach AIDA when I was in learning going to real estate school or licensing courses. I remember being taught AIDA, AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action. That this was the kind of the progression of how you won a client or a customer. First, you had to get their attention. Then you had to get them interested, and then you had to get them desiring whatever it is you're offering, and then you had to get them to take action. But the first step of all this is attention. So I want you to think about this as a publicity stunt. Now, I don't think it's purely a publicity stunt, but I think there's no question about it that for both of them, this draws for 2 guys who get a lot of attention already. It actually elevates the amount of attention they are getting, because when you are being talked about, when you are being watched, when people are thinking about you, whether they like you, don't like you, whether they believe you, don't believe you, when you are getting attention, you have an opportunity then to communicate a message that can help you get what you want. Okay, so you get the people's attention. Now I can say, okay, people are paying attention now. Let's get them interested in what I have to talk about, what I have to offer, and then I can get them to want it, and then I can get them to take action on it. Well, you got 2 guys who have major companies that those companies' growth depends on, first and foremost, attention. And then you got to get interest and desire. But attention is always a high value commodity. So the number one reason they are fighting, or they are talking about fighting, is because of the attention. No question about it. And is it the most important reason? I don't think so. I think it's secondary. I don't think this, when it first came out, and I think it was, I think it was Mark Zuckerberg that first, I don't even know who proposed it. Does anybody know who proposed it first? If you do, type in the chat who proposed this first, because it was somebody proposed doing it and the other one said yes. So who proposed it first? Was it Zuckerberg or was it Musk? If anybody knows, would you type in the comments? Because I don't even know. Okay, so whoever it was, when they first proposed it, I don't think their thought was, how can I get more attention for my company? Now, it's kind of interesting because when you look back 2 or 3 years ago, these guys were not competitors in the business space for the most part. They weren't competitors. They were both super successful, super rich, massively big companies, but they were in different fields. You have Elon Musk, electric cars, Tesla, and SpaceX, stuff like that. That was where before he got into the Twitter game, or the X game, before he acquired Twitter and turned it into X, they really weren't direct competitors. They weren't in the same space. Social media was Zuckerberg's space, and Elon Musk was in technology and electric cars and space exploration and innovation and all that. But now, since Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk acquired Twitter, which is now X, and especially since Mark Zuckerberg released Threads, which was designed to directly compete head-to-head with Twitter, with X, all of a sudden, they are direct business competitors in the business world. Social media moguls head to head. The emperors of social media are now going head to head in business. And so the next progressive step of that is, okay, we're fighting now for dominance in the social media platform space, right? So out of this comes a cage match. Now, here's the second reason they are talking about doing it. And this is the reason these last two reasons, or I believe the reasons, are serious. That I think it's a real conversation. I don't think it's like just a publicity stunt. No question it's for attention, but it's not the only reason. The second major reason, I think probably the most, this is probably the number one reason. No, in my mind, there's no question. This is the number one reason. Competition. It is just the competitive drive of achievers. They're competitors. By nature, the first law of success, in fact, the first law of nature, is competition. If you agree with me, type in the comments competition. There's no question in my mind about it that they are doing this because this is what high achievers do. They compete. And this is where I think it's totally a guy thing. They're already competitors in business. So if they want to just compete in business, well, just go head to head with X versus Threads and just go, right? But the real reason, thank you, Kara, because the real reason is competition. More than anything else, what made this first come up, and is there nobody that even knows who started this conversation? Was it Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk that first brought it up and proposed a cage match? If anybody knows the answer, I'm still looking for that. Type it in the comments, because I don't know. I heard it when it first happened, and at that time I knew. I think it was Zuckerberg, but I'm not sure. But it's because men, especially men, are just by nature, we are competitors. You got to beat the other guy. Now, this is why this is relevant for you. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. If you are in business, you have to understand that if you want to succeed and achieve at a high level, you are going to be competing. You are in a competitive market. You are in a competitive world. The first law of success is competition. For you to get something that somebody else wants, you have to beat somebody else. If you want money, which is presumably the number one goal of business is to make money, then you are competing with other businesses for that money, because every person, for the most part, has a limited amount of money and they can't just give money to everything. So you've got to convince them that your thing is more valuable. Hey, Leonidas, come here, boy. My dog just came back. He ran away. Hang on. Yep, we got to get you. Good boy. I can't let my dog run loose out here, and he got away this morning, ran loose on a walk, and he took off. So Um, you're competing for every piece of business you get. If you're a real estate agent, you are competing for business. You're going head to head with somebody else. Even if it's a past client or a personal friend or somebody in your personal circle that you know, they are still considering other options. You are competing against technology. You're competing against for doing it for sell by owner. You're competing against them using another agent. You're competing against them using some, just an online platform, maybe not a full service agent, a discount agent or whatever. You are competing, period. And if you can't embrace competition, you're not ever going to achieve at a high level. You want to win in business. You must embrace competition, the competitive drive in all of us. I don't know if you can hear my dog lapping up his water. But you guys want to see this? So this is my dog here. He's really nice out drinking. So we have this big thing they can get into when it's hot and cool off. Yeah, had a good hike, climbed the mountain this morning. So we had some fun. You got to compete. And people that don't want to compete are not going to do well. And there are people that just like, I don't like competing. Well, part of this has been conditioned out of us by pop culture. So especially for younger people, the idea of competing scares them. They don't want to compete. And they've been taught this ever since they were little, because now we don't do, it's kind of taboo to, have first place, second place, have winners and losers, because losers can hurt people's self-image. And it's just like, this too bad. Well, it depends on how you frame losing. See, losing means you got beat, but it doesn't mean you're not capable. And you got to understand this. If you are going to win, you are going to compete. And for you to compete, you have to embrace competition, and you have to believe that you are capable not only of competing, but of winning. And if you get beat and you lose, it doesn't mean you are a loser. It does not mean it's a life sentence that you are not ever going to be successful. What it means is you got to get better. And this is where you have to change. And I have a friend who was watching his son at practice one day, and his son is exceptionally athletic, very, very fast, and he always wins. All the races, the sprints, all the stuff they're doing in practice, he always wins. And he said, the coach said one time after, he said to him, Axel, why don't you let somebody else win every once in a while? Well, that pissed my friend off. My friend went over to the coach and said, I tell you what, how about instead of asking my son to intentionally lose, how about challenge the other guys to up their game, to push harder, to train harder, to run faster? Instead of trying to lower the bar, why don't we raise the bar? So if you lose, one, you need to acknowledge I got beat. But two, instead of it making you go like, oh, I'm a loser, and make you go the wrong way in your mind, your story has to be, I got beat. I will not get beat again. This happened to me the first time. I got beat mentally on a listing presentation. It was a for sale by owner. This is when I was probably a year or so in the business, and I'd already started doing pretty good. And I was getting, most of my business was listings, because I was prospecting for sell by owners and expireds every day. And that was my primary target. I didn't really have a personal circle when I first started, because I just moved to Dallas-Fort Worth from a small town. And so I literally did not have people that I knew. And so I was like, I had to go get business somewhere. So I went after for sell by owners and expires. This is what happens when you live in the mountains, right? Is you have WO trucks like that drive by. But it's very rare. This is the traffic I got. So I got a for sale by owner appointment. I got an appointment with a for sale by owner, and I was excited about it. And I was in our office. There was a new agent that had just come named Cindy Stewart. Now, she was not a new agent in production. She was new with our company. She just joined our company. She was already a seasoned, heavy producer. Her name's Cindy Stewart. I think she's still in Keller, Texas. So she's awesome. If you ever need a good agent in Keller, she is. I think she's still in Northeast Tarrant County. She's freaking amazing. And I don't know how it came up, but anyway, we were talking, and I know how it came up. I was talking to the for sale by owner, and when I set the appointment, they go like, "Oh, we already have an appointment with somebody in your office." And I'm like, "Really, who is it?" And they're like, "Cindy Stewart." And I'm like, "Oh, Cindy, okay, I know Cindy." And I said, "But we still compete. We're still, even in the same company, you can still choose which agent you want to go with. So let's still meet." So they're like, "Okay, cool, we'll meet." So I see Cindy in the office, and I just go up to her because I'm a nice guy and I'm friendly, and I'm like, "This is gonna be friendly competition, and it'll be fun." And I said to her, "Hey, I heard you and I are going, or you have an appointment with so and so. We're going to be going head to head with each other." And she looked right at me and she goes like, Really? And I said, yeah. And she goes like, then I'm going to kick your ass. And she was not smiling. She was not joking. It was like, she just looked at me, and it wasn't mean. It was just like absolute confidence, absolute certainty, just looked at me with this confidence that's like, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to you will not beat me. I will win. And at that moment, as a newer agent, it just devastated my confidence. And my immediately was, oh crap, I just got beat. And I realized after the fact that I got beat here before I ever even showed up for the listing appointment. Cindy Stewart beat me in the mental game. She made me believe I was the loser before I even went into the game. She was the winner, I was the loser. And that mindset, but she understood it, that it was not, this is not friendly competition. She knew we're going to go in and there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. I'm going to get the listing or you're going to get the listing. And if you get the listing, I lose. If I get the listing, I win always. So I'm going to get the listing. So I'm going to kick your ass. And that was her. And she just walked away after that. And it was just like the funniest things. We've joked about it since then, but it was like, that happened to me. And after that, I just remember thinking to myself, I will never get beat like that again. Now, that didn't mean I didn't ever get beat on listings, but it meant I would never allow myself, because of who I was going up against and because of what their belief was versus my belief, I was not going to get beat in my head for. I had to embrace that this was a competitive game. And if you're going to get listings, if you're going to get the business, you have to be willing to embrace competition and say, I am going to kick your ass. Doesn't mean I hate you. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, but I am going to win. Now, that drive is very strong in achievers. And it is especially strong in men. And I think it's just, and this is just, it's not, I think this is just the truth. Now, pop culture will try to disagree with this, but this is just the reality. Men are wired different than women. They just are. And men, and it's not black and white. It's not like 100% men are this way and no woman is this way. It's not, it's a spectrum, and I get that. But for the most part, men are the ones who are like, it's just in our blood, it's in our DNA to fight, to compete. And I think it goes back to Charles Darwin's concept of survival of the fittest. To survive, you have to be able to win. You have to be able to catch the prey, and you have to be able to defend it. You have to be able to defend yourself from enemies or others that want to come over and take what you have. And you're going to compete for food. You're going to compete for land and territory. You're going to compete for power, and you're going to compete for a mate. You're going to compete for survival. You are going to compete. It's nature. And even though we're not in a place where that's how we live today as a society, it is still wired deeply within us. And so I think you just have this idea of two achievers, and they're like, I'm going to be king of the mountain. And this guy is a competitor of mine in business, this one. And so they're just talking about like, somebody brings up fighting him, and like, yeah, bring it, I'll fight him. So let's see. Somebody says, Musk said he'd be up for a cage match with Zuckerberg. Yeah, I don't. So I'm taking from that, Cecilia, CC, that you're saying that Musk was the one that proposed it. It may be. I don't remember. I thought it was Mark, but it may not be. And all right. So the coolest SC realtor says my money's on Elon. Okay, I'm not going to say who my money's on. But the Twitter owner brought up the idea after a Twitter user cautioned me to be careful discussing Zuckerberg because he knows jujitsu. Okay, so here's the thing. So this, and which is true, Mark Zuckerberg has been training for years in jujitsu. So he's a fighter. I mean, and you look at his body, he has trained like, and this is what achievers do: is you look at men achievers. How many high achievers in the business world that used to just be, a suit, today they are ripped. And I realized, for me, as a guy who grew up very athletic, but over the years just quit taking care of my body the way I needed to, and I got out of shape. And I always considered myself to be fairly healthy and athletic, and I just kept looking at myself, and I'm like, the way I see myself inside and the way my body actually shows up is not congruent. And so I've gotten very, very serious about my physique, my body, my taking care of my fitness over the last few months at a level that I've never done before. I've kind of done, we go up and down, and it's just like, no, this is critical. That you be able to perform, the way you show up, people judge you. And this is where just the bragging rights of being able to say, yes, we got in a ring and I won. Okay, so this is competition. It is, I'm going to win. And it drives the market. It drives success. You want to win, you got to be ready to compete. Not only are you competing for business, by the way, but this is life. This is how this is why home prices go up. You're competing. right? If you're a buyer and want to buy a house, you're going to be competing with somebody else. Now, whether you're in multiple offers or not, you're competing with somebody. That's the reason the home price has gone up, is because there's competition. If there was no competition for a home, the price would not go up. It would have to go down. It would have to go down, right? There's no choice. Okay. If you want a car, the reason it's priced the way it's priced is because there's somebody else that will pay that for it. And you're having to compete to get that car. So if you want that car, that you got to make enough money to be able to afford that car. If there was nobody competing for that car, nobody else wanted to buy it. I'm dating. I'm in the dating game again. I say again, it's the first time I've been in actually like in the dating game since I was in college. But I realize in the dating game, you're competing. That if there's an attractive, beautiful woman, you're not the only guy that would like to date her and go out with her. You're not the only guy that would like to win her heart. You are going to compete. And so that competitive drive in you, if you want to achieve your goals and achieve massive success, you have to embrace competition and say, like, I will compete and I will outcompete and I will win. And that leads into the third reason they are doing this. Okay. Third reason that Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, two of the richest men in the world, would actually get into a cage match and actually fight, which is crazy to me. But here's why they do it. Number 3 is domination. It's domination. There is just this drive, and especially in men, to dominate, to be the king of the mountain. I will be the king of the mountain. And it is like, it's me or you. There are no two kings of the mountain. It is me. I'm the king of the mountain. You're the king of the mountain. And this, my friend, is very, very critical, because if, again, not only is it true to succeeding, but to staying successful, to not just getting somewhere, but to stay it, to be able to protect and defend your kingdom, is you have to be able to dominate and protect that world that you've created. Okay. And this is why at Millions Live, the event that I have coming up, Millions Live, you go to millionslive.com to get details on it. But the people I'm bringing in are people that dominate. They dominate in their world. They dominate Preston Brown, he's the number one, not only a broker and a multiple business owner and entrepreneur, he's the number one home builder in El Paso, Texas. Now, you're like, what does that mean? Well, it means he makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year. But he's competing. He's not the only home builder. And when he acquired the company, it was going bankrupt. It was deeply in debt, and it was not even on the radar of being a successful company. It was about to go out of business, and he acquired it and was like, but this is who I am. I win. I dominate. And so he has become the dominant home builder in El Paso, Texas. He's going to be one of our speakers. I got another guy that's coming in that's made over $50 million in the freaking stock market. Like, you kidding me? Now, he's going to come in. He's not going to be teaching stocks per se. He's going to be teaching success. He's going to be teaching leadership and how he built a business that made him not only be successful in business, but also be successful in life as a husband, as a father, and all of that. By the way, just so you know, next week, next Thursday, this podcast, he is going to be my guest. His name is Jeremy Alexander Newsom. Jeremy is going to be my guest on this podcast next week, and we're going to talk about how he made his money in the stock market, and how he continues to do it. He made millions of dollars even last year, and he continues to do it in good years, bad years. He always wins in the stock market, which is totally, to me, it's like, no, that can't happen. It's impossible that you win all the time. And he wins all the time. And he's going to talk about that next week on this podcast. So his name, Jeremy Newsom, is going to be my guest, and it's going to be a phenomenal conversation. So join me for that. He's also going to be one of my guest speakers at Millions Live. So him and Preston will be flying in on private plane and coming in to speak. Now, there's other people like that. It's not just guys. There'll be women. They're like Eva Lynn in Pasadena, California. She is dominant. I mean, freaking dominant in her market. You'll have Maruk Tariq, who is dominant in her market, not as a top producing agent. She makes over $500,000 a year, but she also makes many tens of thousands of dollars a month in passive cash flow from real estate investments. And in her game, she does some things that I'm just like, I'm in awe at how much cash flow she creates from her real estate investments, from the properties that whether it's single family or multifamily, just a super dominant person. These are the kind of people that are going to be speaking at Millions Live on talking about how do you become super successful, and how do you compete and outcompete, and how do you dominate. So domination is about securing your position of power in the market that allows you to succeed. Now, this can be true in business. It can also be true just in general in life, of you basically building an empire of your own personal life that protects your life from, like if in a marriage, it protects you from an affair, it protects you from divorce. If in your finances, it protects you from bankruptcy, from going broke, from having some bad thing happen, and all of a sudden you're in financial stress. It's your body, making your body healthy and elite physical condition so that you can dominate against disease or against injury or whatever that is, as one of my friends calls it, hard to kill. That I'm like, I want to be in such great physical condition that I'm hard to kill. It's hard to kill me. I have a strong immune system. I have a strong fitness, so that when I'm climbing a mountain, if I fall, I don't injure myself. Why? Because I'm in elite physical condition, so I can handle the fall. That was not true 6 months ago, because I was not in the kind of physical condition that I was worried about injuring myself. Just if a rock rolled under my foot, I'm on my butt. And so the idea of success, I think, requires all three of these things. And this is the reason that these two guys are going at it. Number one is attention. The more attention you have, the more opportunity you have to succeed in business, to acquire clients and customers. Number two, competition. This is the first law of nature. It's the first law of survival. It's the first law of winning, is you have to be willing to compete and outcompete and win. And then number three is domination. And that is not enough just to be competitive. You got to dominate. Now, that means you dominate based on whatever your life goals are and what you want to acquire and what you want to build and achieve in your life, that you have to be able to do that and dominate over any adversity, over any competition, over anything that could come up against you, whether it's a change in the economy or interest rates going up or whatever it is. Can you dominate even when adversity attacks? So if you got sick, could you dominate in spite of your illness? If you got injured, could you do that? Okay. If something happened in your marriage and you had a big fight with your spouse, is your relationship strong enough that you can still dominate in life and have a great marriage and overcome that conflict? In all areas of our life, these areas are so true. And in the business world, all three of these are critical. Number one is attention. Number two, competition. And number three, domination. Where do you need to up your game? Where do you need to up your game? This is a game of attention. This is, guys, social media has leveled the playing field. It's put everybody in a position where you don't have to have money to get attention. You don't have to have, it's like back even 20 years ago, when I started real estate 25 years ago, to get attention, you had to spend money, or you had to make phone calls, or you had to go door knocking. You had to do something that was, today, I don't have to, I can literally, with a cell phone, you can get attention. And you don't have to have money. You don't have to go knock on doors or make phone calls. You just get online. You just post on social media. Now, how you post is going to determine how much attention you get, right? How you do it matters. But and by the way, at Millions Live, we're going to talk about how are these people getting the attention that is allowing them to do this. I'm actually having a conversation with a lady today that I had heard about, that has mastered organic SEO for real estate agents. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then I'm like, what's she doing? Okay, this is what she's doing. I'm like, that will work. So I got a conversation with her today, because I just want to get in a conversation with her, and maybe collaboration with her, on mastering SEO, search engine optimization, how to show up and rank number one on Google in your market without having to pay for it. And I'm like, this is really, and I'm literally, I have one of my coaching members is doing it, and it's like they've already gotten transactions, deals from this strategy. And I'm like, I would never have believed it until I saw it. And so I'm going to be talking to her. So this is something we're going to be bringing for you. But learning how to get attention, key is critical. Number two, willingness and ability to compete. How do you compete and outcompete? You got to get better and better and better and better. You got to be upping your game. Again, this is why come to Millions Live. If you're a real estate agent or an entrepreneur, you need to be at Millions Live, because there you are going to learn from the ultimate dominators in the game and competitors of how do I get better, so that when I go into a competition, when I go into a conversation with somebody, I know I'm competing for business. I know I'm competing for their money. I know I'm competing for their loyalty, that I can beat everybody else. And then number three is domination. How do you get there and stay there? How do you, every time when you compete, at the end of it, I'm going to win. I'm going to be king of the mountain that I'm building, the kingdom I'm building for my life, for my family, for my legacy, that I am going to dominate. And I'm not just going to be a one-hit wonder and I'm going to have a good year and then it all falls apart. to be able to sustain it over and over and grow it in a way that could never be broken is true domination. So my friends, commit to getting more attention, being more competitive, and dominating in your world, in your game, whatever that game is, to absolutely dominate. Now, whether Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are going to get in the cage and fight, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'll just, okay, as the last thing here, I'm going to tell you who I'm going to root for. I'm going to tell you who I think will win. I actually think Elon Musk will go in for the upset. He is not a trained fighter, but he's physically much bigger. But that's who I'm rooting for. So there you go. Now you know who I'm rooting for. Who are you rooting for? Type it in the chat. Type it in the comments. I'm just curious. I'd like to kind of see your votes, and go out there, get attention, compete, and win. See you guys later.